Thank you. Good evening. I call the regular meeting of the South Burlington School Board to order on, wait a minute, my agenda here, February 5th, 2025 at 6 p.m. First order of business, announcements and amendments to the agenda. Are there any announcements? Hearing none, amendments to the agenda. Violet, any amendments from you?
Nothing from my end. Thank you, Tim.
I do have a couple. I would like to, table the school board retreat under discussion. Since Chelsea's not here, I think we should wait for her to have that discussion. And then one thought I have, I think we'll probably have public comment tonight. So I'm thinking, would people be okay moving the focus on student learning up to just before comments from the public?
Yes.
So that allows us to have some continuity in the public comment. Good with that? Okay. And then I have one addition down in discussion. I'd like to add in just a quick update on contract negotiations.
Tim, what
All
item
right.
would that be?
What's that?
Is that going to be item 5D?
Yeah, let's make that, let's make that item 5D, and I'm wondering if we can combine E and B, because I think those are gonna end up sort of being the same.
B and D?
Yeah, so B
Yep.
and E, we combine just to B, and then D becomes contract negotiations update.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, with that said, we'll move on to the student representative report then.
Great, thank you. Yesterday, the SBHS student leadership team had the opportunity to observe 2 classes at CBU. These classes both use Harkness, a full class discussion model, to learn about and deconstruct complex topics. The student leadership team will be sharing about their experience at CBU to SBHS faculty in the coming month, with the hope of implementing these types of discussions into curriculum at our school.
Gracie and I also had the privilege to present to junior and seniors about the proposed budget last week. Tim was able to join us to answer some questions from students, so thank you, Tim. We discussed how ed funding works at the state level, the proposed reductions at SBHS, and advocacy efforts students could engage in both at the state and local levels.
And as part of our recommended advocacy efforts, Allie and I, along with the students on the finance committee, introduced the SBSD Budget Student Advocacy Group. Our first meeting for high school students is during office hours at 8:15 this Monday, the 10th. And we're planning to write letters to our community about the importance of this budget and decorate cards with pro-budget messages. So any students who are listening, please come join us.
And Grace and I would like to congratulate Isabella Amoa and Julia Todd on being selected as Vermont's 2025 Presidential Scholars for this outstanding leadership and service to our community. They were recognized at the Vermont State House last Monday, January 27th, and are now able to apply for the U.S. Presidential Scholars Program at the national level. We want to say a huge thank you to the both of them for all the community work they do around SBSD, and wish them a congratulations again. And finally, Gracie and I would like to make a statement about the proposal of the Honors American Studies class being reconfigured at the high school. Although this is not specifically board related, we feel that it's important that Violet and other administrators who may not be here tonight are aware of this change and its consequences.
As students who have both heavily benefited from taking Honors American Studies in 10th grade, we can personally say that this class prepared us extremely well for higher level classes by allowing us to grapple with complex texts and participate in an engaged and rigorous learning environment. The proposal of reconfiguring the 10th grade humanities model to an honors with distinction option within non-honors classes will immensely limit the opportunity for students who would like to challenge themselves with higher level schoolwork. Not only will this model decrease students' motivation to challenge themselves in the classroom, but it also puts the burden on ambitious students to lift their peers up. This doesn't feel equitable, and we hope that administrators both at the high school and the district level reconsider this decision.
Thank you. All right, with that done, we'll move on to student spotlight, high school robotics team.
Thank you so much. So I am so sorry not to be here in person, but I am extremely honored to be able to welcome our high school robotics team. I first met Myra and Sadan when we were at they were presenting to other superintendents and leaders around the state. And I was able to learn from them and manipulate Toast, which is one of their machines, and have been really impressed working with the team. Myra has done an incredible job of advocating for the expansion of robotics within the district, and has offered to continue to work with PTOs, looking for funding for this really important programming in our schools, and also working with principals and schools out leadership. So I'm just blown away by this incredible team, and the amount of learning that they do from management and leadership, business skills, right? I think typically we associate this with the incredible depth of science and math that is certainly involved, but the all around rounded learning that comes from this is really incredible, not to mention the friendships and the connections. So thank you, Sadan and Myra, for being here tonight, and Ryan Estes, the advisor. Really grateful for all that you do. And with that, I'd like to welcome the team, and there are some slides sharing a bit about the programming that Nick will drive for us. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. So for you guys who don't know me and haven't already heard that, my name is Myra. I'm one of the co-captains of the team, and I've been doing robotics for 7 years through South Wilmington.
My name is Sadan, and I've been doing robotics for 7 years as well.
So a little bit of background about the program. It first is an acronym which stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology, and it is the leading STEM program for youth worldwide. So even though in Vermont it's still a growing program, students from the state have the opportunity to go compete in Massachusetts and Houston in the World Championships and really grow their skills in a bunch of different ways and hear a bunch of different diverse perspectives. It's a 3-level program, so you start with first LEGO League in elementary and middle school, and then that moves up to first Tech Challenge, which is the teams that we house at the high school, and then first robotics competition, which is what Superintendent Nichols got to drive with Toast the robot. And all 3 of these programs are exponentially growing in Vermont. In the past 3 years, you've seen first LEGO League double from around 20 to 60 teams, more than double. First Tech Challenge has grown from maybe 14 teams when we were first freshmen to now being 24, and first robotics competition has doubled in the past year alone. So our team, Batteries Not Included, is a 12-year returning team, and this season our competition is Into the Deep, that the whole team is water themed. So diving a little bit into our team specifically, what we have at the high school. In the beginning of the year, as soon as our kickoff happened, we broke up into different groups and we came up with goals. That way we could have a really united group of goals for the season and really drive our team, hearing everyone's perspectives. So we drew them or divided them up into outreach, team, and robot. And those are the general terms that we use, and that has helped us encompass having a business team on our team, having artwork, having graphic design, having everything that you can, like Superintendent Nichols mentioned, having a lot more than just robotics on our team. And something that we thought really encompassed our season this year has been this quote, "A rising tide lifts all boats," basically saying that in every aspect of this competition, everything we do to help the whole community, we help the team, and inevitably we want to make that our big goal, not just winning the robot game. So diving into that is a bit of an outreach summary. This is something that our team does and something that we think is really important. And one thing that's really cool about FIRST is that it's not because we're trying to fill a certain number of hours, it's not to fill our graduation requirement, but it is because we like doing this outreach, we love doing these things, and that is the reason that we've been able to put over 800 hours amongst a 7-person team into doing these community events this year. We've reached over 3,000 people, we've reached borders, we've gone to different states, and it's really, really been an impactful thing for us, including these are a few of our events that we want to highlight, so.
Yeah, all right, so one of the ways that we helped is we hosted kickoff for FTC, which is the middle of the road pipeline that Myra talked about. And we wanted to connect all of places from all over Vermont and try to inspire STEM because, you know, Vermont is a very rural place, as we all know. And just being able to connect with peers from Montpelier to to Rutland and everywhere around. It's a really nice experience.
And another event that our team takes a lot of pride in that helps our professional development has been Vermont Tech Jam, which is the biggest I was gonna say competition, but STEM technology fair in Vermont. And we've had the privilege of presenting first, not only to benefit our own team and get mentors and potential sponsors for us, but to help First in Vermont as a whole. And we've been there for 3 years, and it's been a really, really great event because it's helped me get my internship over the summer. It helps Sadot get his internship at Beta over the summer. This program works directly into the workforce. It really helps us grow those skills. I've had a lot of friends in college tell me like, oh yeah, this is exactly what you're doing with FTC back in high school.
And then we really inspired to be like full circle moment. We like to inspire you. And so we have mentored multiple FLL teams, which is the bottom level of the pipeline. And all of us are alumni of them, and we're trying to just share our knowledge, give guidance towards people. And so one of those teams is Syntax Terror, which is Waldorf school, so it's more non-technical. And so being able to share our expertise on electronics and technology has been really inspiring.
And then one of the big things that we want to mention that we recently got to do last week was, like Superintendent Pickles mentioned again, the advocacy that we've been doing for this program. Because it is such an important program and so widely recognized in other states, we want to make that recognition equally important in Vermont. So we invited Congresswoman Becca Balint to our team, and we just showed her around. We showed her what we do, the different aspects, all 3 of our teams at the high school, and really helped show her that robotics is more than just bolts and screws, but it's full running business within that. We have a finance department, we have artwork, it's everything within that. And we've also done this at other events as well, like the first LEGO League qualifier. We were able to talk to different senators, different decision makers, and we're really trying to push student voice as much as possible on this team. So one thing that we take pride of at the high school is that he has to do as little work as possible. Our coach, we try to do as much of it as we can for him. And then one of the last things we've done this year, which has been a new addition, is do STEM rotation camps at our elementary schools. So working with schools out, we've been able to host monthly, weekly, month-long programs, which has just fostered STEM programming. And we've been able to do that for the past 3 months in all of our elementary schools, with the hope that next year we can start first LEGO League teams at those schools with students from the high school being mentors. So the only job, work that we have to do on the elementary school side is have someone there and fill those requirements so that the kids can meet. And this has been a continuation of a program that we've been doing for 4 years with the middle school schools out. Yeah, so they're just a few of the pictures. Yeah, of the first 3 photos are of us with our team Syntax Terror, which is one of 4 first LEGO League teams that we have started and mentored for 2 years. And then the second are photos from our visit with the Congresswoman last week.
All right, so for our robot overview, we're again the middle level of the pipeline. So FTC, it's a more affordable option. I'll try to show as best as I can. But so for this year, we were trying to get these rectangular prisms into little baskets on the field. And so this part is our intake and allows us to suck the rectangular prisms inside of our robot. And that transfers into a little bucket that can dump it into the baskets. And if you can see over on the screen, all of our robot is pretty much CAD'd, and that's computer aided design, and it's 3D modeled. And so a little bit more personal on my end is the ability to be able to bolster the skills of 3D modeling has helped me with, as Myra has previously mentioned, for getting job shadow at Beta Technologies, because I was able to job shadow the 3D print and design team. So it's a lot of ways this robotics team has allowed us to go into the professional field.
And this skill specifically with computer aided design is recognized in almost every tech company you'll go to. If you ask anyone, oh, what do you guys do to design your products ahead of time? It is this program, if not the exact same open web-based program that we use. And then as for the software side of things, all of the robots are coded in Java. And one of the really cool things about FIRST is that we pride ourselves in saying you can join our team without any experience, with any background or experience. So this is a skill that students have the opportunity to learn, even if they're not taking AP Computer Science or if they're not in that classroom. And it's really hands-on learning. So one of the really unique things that we've done this year and to enhance our software has been to use Odometry, which is a you can see kind of in those photos, but also right here, we have wheels that help us localize where our robot is in the field. So at any point, we can use the sensors and the inputs that we're getting from those dead wheels to track where we are. And that's used a lot of different complicated math, which me personally, I could not explain, but the inverse kinematics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different complex math in here, and as Superintendent Nichols mentioned, that math is, that's where you see the really heavy math stuff.
And then even if you are taking more of the more advanced classes, a lot of the time students are like, what do I do with this calculus knowledge? Like, am I ever gonna solve an integral in real life? And this is where you can really apply it. You can show your application of what you're studying in those advanced courses into like more real world challenges. And like Myra mentioned, you can use it, for example, in our robot for odometry.
And even on top of that, me personally, I've taken physics and calculus this year, and there's been at least 30 times this year where I've been in physics and I've gone, hey, I already know that because of the things that we've done on this. Yeah, thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, really great. Thank you so much.
I have just one or two questions really quickly.
Yeah.
Do you have any interaction with any of our local IT businesses or
So
community?
if you want to stand up and show them their factory switcher.
Oh, no.
So that is. So we do, our teams are self-funded, and that's what I mean by we have a business department is. So question to you guys, how much money do you think the robotics team has raised in the past 4 years?
$5,000.
Higher,
Higher.
higher,
Yeah.
lower. So it's been right around $40,000 for the past 4 years. And that has been the culminated efforts of everyone on our team, and that's something that we foster. As soon as you join the team as a freshman, no, you don't get to just sit around and do it, work on the robot. You have to be involved in doing these fundraising efforts. And it's been really fun because we've gotten to work with like Joanna Bate from the business department, a bunch of different people from the business department. And like I mentioned briefly, that is exactly what got me my internship in the finance department at OnLogic this summer. And they've been a returning sponsor for our team for 4 years, and it's something I personally take a lot of pride in, but yeah. We do interact with a lot of places, even our t-shirt company that prints these shirts has sponsored us.
Myra is the business manager of the team, and she's incredibly effective. My husband works for RTX, whose icon you might have noticed on the opening screen, and they're located in Virgins. And after I met with Myra, I shared a ton of information with RTX, and we were able to develop a relationship where they sponsored Girls in STEM Day, in addition to being a major sponsor of our robotics team. So many thanks to all of those on the team, and Myra for her keen business sense. I have no doubt you will go far in finance, should that be a route you choose.
Hopefully double major, so yes.
No surprise there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Great. That's cool. I want to see it work, but that's okay. Maybe they'll stick around or share later.
The demo is definitely the best part.
Oh, wait, guys, I forgot.
Go ahead, please.
So the thing that I forgot to mention is that our state championship is this weekend at South Brenton High School. So it'll be all day, and after opening ceremony around 10 o'clock, there will be around 22 teams from all around Vermont. Bunch of robots running around. So if you do want to come and ask for questions or even drive the things, that would be the day to do it.
Is that on Saturday?
Saturday, yes.
We expect a report in the next student report. Great. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on, we have now comments from the public. So this is the community's opportunity to share questions, feedback, and concerns with the board. We ask that you keep your comments concise and that you refrain from using any information that would identify a specific person. Please raise your hand in the room or use the Zoom raised hand feature. We'll only use the online chat to manage any tech issues. We're not able to take action on any issues brought to us during public comment. However, Any board member may suggest tonight that the issue or question be added to a future agenda for discussion. We may also delegate addressing issues to our superintendent, Violet Nichols. It's always helpful also if you can email us a copy of your comments for follow-up. So at this time, I'd invite anybody who would like to make a public comment to come up and just make sure you state your name and yep, come on up, Mark.
My name is Mark Gable, and I'm not sure I can be as eloquent as you guys were, but I'm here tonight to address the concern about the cancellation of Honors American Studies. And in advance, I will ask you to please give me the grace of an extra 20 seconds. I did my best.
Go for it, Mark.
Our eldest daughter took this class and it changed her life. Mary went from being an average student to a confident and skilled learner who graduated with honors from South Burlington High School, turned down the opportunity to attend Colby College, to return to Canada where she continues to thrive at Mount Allison University in New Brunswick. I often wonder where her path would have taken her without the leadership of Mark McFadden and Greg Lewis. The primary driver behind our other daughter Libby continuing South Burlington schools is this class. After seriously considering both Rice and boarding schools last year, because the lack of challenge being offered in her classrooms, she came to us at the last minute with her decision to stay at South Burlington. Because, and I quote, it would be her only opportunity to take Honors American Studies. Rama Al-Nami, who sat on your board as a student representative for 2 years, and now attends Columbia University, told me, quote, there is no doubt in my mind that I would not be in this place I am today without that course and that teaching pair. Her concern goes more broadly to include the disappearance of courses in higher level math and humanities. Quoting Rama again, I would like to remind those in power within the district that they have a responsibility to all students, even those that wish to push themselves academically. Students in Honors American feel challenged and emulate the standards set by their teachers. They rise to a level academically and socially that many didn't realize they were capable of until they were pushed in an environment filled with other students who hold similar values around this demanding course. If the administration's primary goal is equity, then consider the fact that in 20+ years of this course being offered, a student has never been turned away. Not even this year, when there are 94 students being split into 2 sections, 50% of the students from the current sophomore class elected to take Honors American, regardless of its reputation for hours of homework and teachers' high expectations. They are coached by other students, siblings, teachers, and alumni that this is the class to, quote, not be missed. And I can attest, it's a minimum 2 hours of homework, at least for our child. How is it that a school system with so many areas crying for change and improvement has an administration that's concentrating on the reconfiguring of a wildly successful class that has decades of data demonstrating how effective it has been at impacting students' lives? How is it that an interim principal can decide to cancel this class especially without the executive director of learning being consulted? How can the sophomore class selection be released without the superintendent first reviewing it? How is it that Honors American Studies isn't being used as a template for other classes to emulate what a successful teaching classroom represents rather than fixing what's not broken in the name of equity? In a time that there's so much negativity vying for our attention, when we feel hopeless to impact much of what seems to be collapsing around us, here's a chance to act locally and demand that the right thing be done. This is a time for students, teachers, parents, and alumni to stand up and tell Violet Nichols to lead, and with the support of Jody Vallenkamp, to reinstate Honors American Studies unchanged from its original successful model. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Mark, would you mind emailing the board your statement? If you have, that would be great. Thank you.
Tim, I'd like to take a minute to just respond to that. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I just want to take a minute to provide a bit of information about this. The high school team has been working on this transition for a few years. This is a really important equity issue, and I just wanted to clarify the point. The class is not being canceled; it's being expanded, and the rigor shall maintain. I think as we think about support from teachers and administration for programs that support all students. This is something that acting principal John Craig and Mary Ellen Schaefer and director of school counseling Megan Sweet support. This is something that the curriculum area supervisors from both teams and both departments support. John Craig has shared with me that there's been a rigorous process for developing this, which was something that Principal Burke started to lead several years ago. I did want to share with folks, there is an FAQ document on the SBHS homepage for folks to check out. So should you have any questions, one really great feature about that FAQ is that there's an option to add any questions. So if you have any wonders that haven't been addressed, please go ahead and pop those in so that the team can look at those. Really want to make sure that folks have the opportunity to have all their questions answered. And please feel free to reach out to John Craig or Mary Ellen Schaefer, Ryan Navin, or Megan Sweet if you've got any questions on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kyle. Are there other public comments?
Hi there, Samantha Ayers. I'm here not as an employee of this district, but as a parent of children in this district and as a voter in this community. I had to think long and hard about whether I would speak, as the last two meetings have illustrated that you are doing the minimum to follow governance procedures and hold space for public comment, and then choosing to make board decisions that do not in any way consider nor align with what the community is saying. Despite all of that, I believe that my voice matters. I have huge concerns about this board and the way it is currently operating. You are responding to comments and questions by providing unclear answers, half-truths, or not answering at all. As evidence, last board meeting, I asked how you can happily proclaim that you are supporting early education by adding kindergarten paraeducator positions. Yet, you have dismantled the pre-K classrooms by reducing 20% of the staff. That question was not answered by the finely tuned statement that was read by an administrator. Another example is how you stated that the superintendent is getting a significant raise to remain competitive with neighboring districts. However, the average superintendent in Vermont makes $101,188. The Burlington superintendent makes $181,273. Our superintendent now makes a base pay of $216,693. Your messaging to the community is targeted, political, and deceitful. You make beautiful graphics with pictures of our children and teachers and programs. Your pamphlets and newsletters and website incorrectly boast that you are protecting student-facing positions and supporting early education. You want support to pass this budget with the threat of more student-facing positions being cut if it fails. Yet this current budget includes additions of administrative positions while dismantling programs that include those who serve our youngest learners and giving extravagant raises to our leader. You are not listening to community voice. Your community has no trust in you and your decisions. How do we move forward? Where do we go with grievances, questions, and concerns, if not to the school board, who is currently proving that what our community is saying does not matter? There are no checks and balances. This is a broken system and it needs to be changed. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Katie Farhang. I have two kids at Word Church. Good evening, members of the school board. I want to take a moment to remind you of the responsibility that you have accepted you've accepted when you chose to serve in this role. As representatives of this community, your duty is not just to make decisions, but to engage, listen, and respond to the people you serve. Right now, that is not happening. The lack of transparency surrounding the superintendent's contract renewal, coupled with the dismissive remarks about community concerns, has left many feeling unheard and frustrated. When legitimate questions go unanswered, when emails sent 8 days ago are met with silence, it erodes public trust. Trust that is essential for the success of our schools, our students, and the district as a whole. We are not here to undermine the work of the board. We are here to ensure that it is done with integrity, openness, and a true commitment to serving the public. That means responding to concerns, engaging in real dialogue, and upholding the principles of good governance. You have an opportunity to rebuild trust. That starts with transparency, accountability, and a willingness to listen. We ask that you take that opportunity. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alex Dezenzo. I'm a speech pathologist in the pre-K program. Chelsea stated in her letter to staff, I myself have reviewed and seen the Excel spreadsheets that were prepared by principals and building-based administrators. For preschool, this is not truthful. There physically is no data. I question if other programs are all in the same boat. Data is defined as facts and statistics collected together for reference or analysis. Preschool is generally overlooked, so I don't fault anyone here on the board. I ask that from today forward, you ask, where is the data that informs these decisions? Data also includes the perceptions of students and families. Today, the preschool team met with the special ed director and building-based principals. The team asked the administration if the administration has considered the number of interventionists that would be hired when 2 teachers are reduced. The administration did not account for those additional positions in this current budget. In the event that the first budget does not pass, and I hope that it will, I would ask that the board review the numbers of interventionists our students would need and the financial impact of that. This isn't an option. Students need to have their faith. In our team's calculations, it's more cost effective to retain 2 highly qualified educators and maintain our current model instead of hiring interventionists, given the cost of their health benefits. In the likely event interventionists cannot be hired, we would legally not be providing FAPE to preschool students. There's a difference between FAPE and licensing. This is why we had originally shifted our model years ago from 6 interventionists to 2 teachers. The community is not asking for the world's most competitive superintendent salary or a $180,000 associate special ed director. The majority of community members are all asking for the same process. What are the needs of the students? Where are the voices of families? Where are the voices of staff? How are decisions being made? And where is the data? Thank you.
And just for my own edification, FAPE is FAPE, and that's free and public education, correct?
Yeah, free and
Okay,
appropriate.
thank you. I
public
just wanted to make
education.
sure that that was correct.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Are there other comments from the room?
Hi, my name is Deirdre Gill. I'm a mother of 2 South Burlington students. In light of what Superintendent Nichols just shared, there is a lot that parents do not know and students don't even know about the removal of the honors classes at South Burlington. So I am eager to find out what's going on and what the thought process is. But in the meantime, I would like to share my concern. I am here to express my concern regarding the removal of honors classes at the high school. I think striving to create equity in South Burlington schools is very important and should be a top priority. But I am concerned that while the intention of this particular decision might be good, it will not result in equity or higher outcomes for students and will create even more disparities as more privileged families will pull their kids out of SB and put them in private school. I believe that all students deserve to be challenged because that is how we grow and learn. For some students, the regular track meets this need. For others, it does not. And for many students, they discover that they can learn more than they ever thought they could because they took a chance and enrolled in honors classes. I worry that kids who are not challenged in school will come away with the message they don't need to work hard to succeed because they've already met the standard. All they need to do is coast. They will not experience that initial discomfort of being pushed beyond their academic abilities, then rising to meet that challenge, and the ultimate satisfaction and the growth that comes from thinking more expansively and working harder than they ever thought they could. If we are not providing this opportunity for growth to a large portion of the student body, can we really say we are providing a great or even a good education in South Burlington? I have heard repeatedly, as we are hearing tonight, how transformative the Honors American class has been for students. Clearly, Mr. McFadden and Mr. Lewis have developed a model of teaching that should not only be lauded but replicated for all students. What a shame to throw away this class that has transformed so many students with different learning strengths and abilities for so many years. Instead of taking away educational opportunities for students who elect to take honors classes, we should be asking, how can we give this top-rate educational experience to all students? Now, I know the superintendent said they're expanding this for all students, but as I have heard, the teachers of this class were not aware this was even happening. So it's unclear to me, and I'm sure other people who are concerned, how could they be expanding it if the two teachers who were teaching it were completely unaware that this was even happening? So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for listening.
Student Carl Hollis, I'm the father of two South Burlington students, and I also want to address the honors course. I would echo everything that everybody's already said, including the student representatives. And one thing I'd like to draw attention to is the honors course is an interdisciplinary course. It's history, it's American studies, it's history and it's literature together. When these kids get to college, this is how most of their classes are going to be. Not all, but many of their classes are interdisciplinary. They're taking political science and they're learning about policy at the same time as they're learning about environment and science. Interdisciplinarity is really important. The world is getting more complicated, not less complicated. American history is being complicated in ways that it never was before. It's a really important way to learn, to have literature and history inform each other, and to talk about music and film and the way that these things can all teach about the past. Secondly, the idea of equity, I truly don't understand where this is coming from, why getting rid of this class somehow makes things more equitable. If you want the classes to be more challenging, make them all more challenging and keep this honors class with the kids who were raising their hand who want to be in this environment. And secondly, or thirdly, or wherever number I'm on now, my understanding is that some kids will have all of the kids will have the option to do like extra work, do basically extra credit, the so-called spicy option. I'm a former educator myself. I taught at Middlebury, I taught at MIT, and I taught at community colleges and state schools. And the difference between a class where everybody expects excellence from each other and a class where you're just there because you're there, you're trying to maybe get an education, maybe you're not. The culture in that room is so different. It's not close. And to have a challenging environment like that is so transformative. And extra credit work is not going to replicate that. Giving somebody an honors designation on their transcript because they did extra work is not going to replicate that. It's depriving these students of of being in that classroom and being challenged in that way. And it's frankly a little cynical to think that, well, maybe that's what they really want is the transcript, or that's what the school gives out at the end of the day. So I urge you to reconsider this. And if you have a minute, Superintendent, to explain what we mean by being more equitable. I just don't get how this is an issue with equity. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the room who'd like to make a comment before we move to the remote focus?
It's also about equity. I mean, I have
Oh,
two.
that's right. Could just state your name for the record, please.
My name's Julie Bear, and I have two students. One who's in the district and one who I pulled out because I don't think school is treating my students equitably, because one has learning disabilities and one does not. Now, if they were both to be given the choice to be in that class, I wouldn't want them to be in the same class. I would want them to be in a different class. And because one of them can rise to the challenge of an honors American history class, and the other needs to be in a different class. It goes at a different pace. And if they were in the same class, it would serve neither. So that's why there needs to be different classes for different learners. And if you look at the science of learning, that's what we've learned, that students can learn at different rates and they need to be taught different ways. Not every person and every fits into the same mold. And if we try that, we're serving no one. And that's what our education system right now is trying to do. And it isn't working. It's not serving everyone. So my student who's in 8th grade has been bored for the most part, and she's learned basically helplessness. We try to teach about the growth mindset in school, but yet we don't actually do it in act, because she's learned basically that everything comes easy to her. And then when she gets a challenge, she thinks, oh, I can't do this. This is too hard, because she's never been challenged in school. My other daughter who has learning disabilities, I had to take her out because she gets, in class, she was given the same work as everybody else without the support that she needed and without it adapted to her. Because we don't adapt classes to what the kids need. So this model does not work. We try to make it the same for everyone. I mean, look at learning science. Children need to be taught differently. They need to be taught at their own speed. They also need to learn to teach different ways, but that's another discussion for another day. But I'm sorry, this is not going to work. That's.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the room who'd like to make a public comment?
I'm Lucy Haas. I just kind of want to restate what everybody else has said, but from a student. I'm only in 9th grade, but I've heard great things about the honors class, and people in my English class, and we're all like at different levels. There are people who are, oh, I don't see them a lot in that class, and I want to learn more. I want more of a challenge. And if I were just in like an English and social studies class, and the choice, like, do I really want to do this? Like, this is going to be hard for like a spicy option of an assignment that everybody's going to do. That it's daunting, but if you're in a class that and everybody is like, yes, I want to challenge myself and I want to do more, that helps to be able to do more with yourself, because like also having ADD is hard to get work done. It's hard to focus on things, but when there are other people who are encouraging these what I want to do, it's easy to get things done because I have support from people who are encouraging me and encouraging everybody else. And I think that's really important for a lot of people. And it would not work for me to have like honors by distinction. So yeah, asking more students about this decision is really important, because like at school, my teachers, they can't really tell us anything because they don't know anything. So being here and hearing, not really having an answer from the superintendent, like it makes me want to like say more and encourage my peers to realize like this is a good thing to have this class and other higher level classes. So
Thank you, Lucy.
My name is Kate Jarvis. I'm a South Burlington resident and have twins in high school. And my comment is just about encouraging people to support the budget and to vote yes on town meeting day. If last year is anything to show, if this budget gets voted down, it doesn't seem to me that it's going to be, budget will then be increased. So then we would have a less amount of money for the budget, which would entail more cuts, which would be more painful than it already is for many people. So yeah, I'm just basically encouraging everybody to please vote yes on town meeting day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody else in the room would like to speak?
I'd just share one other really quick thing.
Please come right up, Mark.
Sorry, Tim. Yeah. So there were two students.
Sorry, Mark, I have to ask you to.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is
identify
Mark
again.
Cable. I'm a community
Thank
member. My daughter's with you. So Libby and one of her friends who are currently taking honors American circulated a petition around the school over the course of the last week, collected over 250 names from students. So your peers are advocating for you this evening. You know, the students are concerned. It's not just a handful of smart kids going, we need this class. 250 signatures was presented yesterday to the principal, the acting principal, and ignored, respectfully ignored. So, and they walked out of that meeting feeling dismissed. I'm afraid the person who should be sitting here telling you this is at home with the flu. Like, way too many students. So I think it's important that that was brought up. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move to folks who have their hands raised online. I think I see, can you unmute Phil Service?
Hello, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. Sorry I could not be there in person tonight. Wanted to make a comment regarding the recent listening tour conducted throughout the South Burlington School District by members of the Vermont NEA. 3 simple questions were asked objectively and consistently to each SBSD staff member. The questions were, what's going well for you? What do you find challenging? And if you could change anything about your work environment, what would it be? I understand that you, as the board, did not initiate this process, but as stewards and leaders of the school district, I encourage you to be curious and not dismissive of the results. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Can we unmute Lauren?
Hi, good evening. My name is Lauren McBride. I'm a parent of 2 students within the South Burlington School District. Good evening, members of the school board. I'm here tonight. I wish I was there in person, but I'm here to express my continued disappointment in the board's failure to show up, to engage with the community, and to even respond to direct communications. As elected representatives, you have a civic duty to serve this community, not ignore it. Your silence, now 8 days after a detailed email was sent outlining serious concerns, only reinforces the perception that you are unwilling or unable to fulfill the responsibilities of this role. Your mishandling of the superintendent's contract renewal process, marked by a lack of transparency, dismissive remarks, and questionable financial decisions, has put this district on a path toward a doomed budget, for which you all bear full responsibility. Board Member Tremblay's public statement that he is sick of talking about contract negotiations is just unprofessional, and it's also unacceptable.
Well, I'm going to stop you, just remind you, please not to identify people personally.
Okay, so a board member's public statement last meeting, where they stated that they are sick of talking about contract negotiations is not just unprofessional, it's unacceptable. Dismissing community concerns does not make them go away. It only deepens public distrust. Ignoring the public is not leadership.
Failing to follow Vermont's open meeting law is not governance. This board must do better. That starts with transparency, accountability, and responsiveness. The chair must step out from behind closed doors. Board members must demonstrate engagement in meetings, and you all must start listening, really listening to district stakeholders and community members. Leadership requires curiosity and not avoidance. The public is watching and it's time for action. Not only do we expect a response, we also deserve one. It is a fundamental responsibility of your role as public stewards. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. And can you unmute Jerry, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Jerry, we can hear you.
So I'll start by just saying I like to applaud the public turnout and the comments. It's good to see the public engaged. I'll also say I'm a strong proponent of honors courses and pushing students to as far as they can go. Having said that, I'm going to take an alternative perspective on some issues with regard to the budget. And I'll start by just comparing South Burlington to other communities in the area. I just finished doing my research on this. So in Burlington, they're reducing their budget by 2%, which turned out to be a $10 million reduction. In the Champlain Valley School District, they're reducing their budget by less than 1% compared to FY25. And in the Essex Westford School District, the school board has asked the superintendent to come back and present to the board a level funded budget, which means no increase in spending, which obviously means they're going to have to cut. And I won't go into the significant amount of cuts. You're talking about between 40 and 55 FTE cuts. I bring this up to remind you that economics are important, and you have 2 students on the board. So to those students, I know I'm not supposed to use specific names, so I'll just say to all students in the district, what kind of world are adults leaving for you in terms of aggregate federal deficit? In the year 2000, it was $5.7 trillion. It's now $36.4 trillion. 10 years from now, it's going to be $55 trillion. That's what adults are leaving to society's children, the ones who we say we care about in the public school system. In terms of living in South Burlington, it's getting more and more expensive. Will students who graduate from South Burlington High School ever be able to afford to live here? Vermont has the dubious distinction of having the lowest ratio of students to employees, 4.4 to 1 versus a national average of 7.45 to 1. And Vermont has the second highest spending per pupil, and that being about $29,000 for the South Burlington School District in FY29. What all this means is economics are important. I believe in challenging students. I also believe in helping those students who need extra help. But at some point, you have to say, what can we afford? Every family must do that unless you're independently wealthy through inheritance or some other means. You have to look at your budget. And if you don't look at your budget, if you don't make decisions based upon economics, you're going to run into trouble. That's why in Montpelier this year, they realized there's a problem. The problem is the cost of public education has exceeded the ability of the general public to afford it. And now they have to come up with a way to reconfigure that budget spending system. And as I listen to the comments tonight, what I hear is everybody wants more, but you all have to ask yourself, you have to balance what you desire with what you can afford. And I'll finish with that comment.
Thank you, Jerry. And I don't see any other hands, so before I move on, does anybody else have a comment from the room? Okay, thank you very much. And if you did prepare a statement and you'd like to send that to the board so we have that on record as email, that would be fantastic. So I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so I can read now. All right, moving on, we are moving on to discussion items. First item on the agenda is Finance Committee. So I will take that one. So really quickly, I think I received an email from Oliver. I do have a plan to try to meet with the Finance Committee next week, possibly after Wednesday. We're going to be discussing a potential another meeting. So, but I do want to meet with them. They're very interested in engaging on this and seeing how they can help. So that is the goal. I haven't been able to connect with Chelsea on it, but I did reply to Oliver and we'll hopefully get something going for us very soon. So that's the update there. The next item on the agenda, any comments before I move on? Sorry, my apologies. Okay, great. Next item on the agenda is listed as fiscal year 26 budget communication, and we're gonna combine that with the E, which is the February 19th community listening session. So I think, Karen, do you want to speak to this one?
Well, I had thought that that it would be good to have another public warned so that we all could be here, information session and actually go through the budget and try to clear up some of the confusion about what's in it, what's not in it. That is in a sort of a more formal environment than the, hit or miss listening sessions, which are wonderful, and I'm not trying to poo-poo them, but to actually have a place where we're all here and Violet is here and perhaps go through the changes, I'm gonna call them changes because they're not just cuts, that are in the budget in perhaps a more systematic way and address some of the questions that we have had through email, in public comment, and just actually address them formally in a session that's dedicated to that purpose before town meeting.
You know, and just so you know, I have held many listening sessions and not one person has attended. I've held them like since I've been on this board. So, it's baffled me. And I think your point is a good one, because clearly I have made myself available and people don't come. So I think that you're right, that we should be having more listening points, because this is a business meeting where we need to get things done. So it's a public meeting, but it's not a meeting with the public. And I think some of the confusion is people want to come and ask their questions, which makes perfect sense to me. And there's not the time to answer them. So I would say we should have more of those. And I mean, I'd be willing to come and have a meeting, come to the school board meeting every week, and the off weeks have this information session. I think more communication is definitely in order here.
And I feel like at this point in this process that having it be a formally warned so that we can all be present meeting, and that it's obviously a public forum that is based on the, we've gotten a lot of comments about, can we talk about the substance of the budget and not just the percentages and so forth. And I feel like it's really important that we do that before we get to town meeting.
So just for clarification, again, what I'm hearing is we want to take one of our board meetings, and the primary point of the agenda would be to cover a lot of the questions that have been fielded from the community in email and in public comment, and we want to address those more
Like
methodically.
just methodically, that's a good word.
Yeah.
Go through the actual substance of the changes in the budget in a public warned, everybody present meeting.
Yeah, I know. I could not agree more with this. It's something that, anyway, yeah, because really like during this meeting, I know it's strange for people, but public comment, and then that's great. And we write it down, like I've been taking notes and people will follow up. And then, just making it clear that yes, like I've written these things down. And then, but we're not gonna respond because just time doesn't allow. There is business we have to do. And then the following week, it's warned. I think that's what's wrong with the listening sessions, right? I don't think anyone takes them seriously. Well, I'm not faulting anybody.
Well, and only two of us can be there at
Yeah,
any given
and
moment.
so I think something, I think you're right, like, be more formal, and where we then, when I say we, I mean, Tim and respond to actual questions.
Yeah.
Sure. So again, we're basically taking one of our upcoming meetings, and we have, I think, one left, right? So,
yeah.
So we'll look at that, but that one would be dedicated as a form.
I'm not sure because I think somewhere on. our
Right, so we have to
agenda
talk
we're-
about the
Yeah,
timing.
we
I
have
just want to
talk about the
clarify
timing.
what we're
But it
looking at
would
from an
be- yeah,
agenda perspective.
from an
here. So we're
agenda-
really, it's a board meeting because we would have every board member present, right?
Mhm.
We want to collect a lot of the questions and address those. I want to make sure
Yeah.
that we have a good idea of what those questions are and we don't, leave anything out inadvertently that somebody is really looking for. So who would want to collate those questions? And are we gonna look at the facts that are online and go through and would you like myself and Chelsea to potentially do that?
I'm
Collect those
certainly willing
questions, or
to
do you
try to
wanna-
help
okay.
with this,
I
yeah,
can do it too.
yeah.
We can go through
And we
comments and
can
gather those.
gather things
Because I
and,
don't think we have to specify right now when we warn the agenda what the questions would be, but I just want to make sure everybody's questions are, but
what in my vision, it's sort of like perhaps we have 3 sections to the meeting and we kind of group, like, we're gonna talk about these items in this section, then take a break, then we're gonna talk about these items in this section, and then we're gonna talk about these items. And I mean, a lot of these things, we've all been reading the emails. We've been sitting here listening to public comment. I think we understand, and I think we have our own questions too, just personally, having sat down here, about the items that are on the budget. And I just feel like it's really important, again, that we set aside time that, we're gonna methodically go through it. And because one might say that step was hopped over.
Sure.
And while we have warned the budget as it is, and we can't really make changes at this point, which I think is important to say in terms of our warning. I think it's important that we make the effort to make sure that everybody has a sort of like the same list and the same understanding, at least what our understanding is in putting forth this budget. And we might be wrong, and, but at least everybody in the community can see it at once, instead of individually answering people's emails and those sorts of things that are, yeah.
Anybody else comments? Violet, I do have a question for you. Do we need to make a motion on this, or is this just an agenda change at this point?
To add a meeting?
I think we need to discuss when this would happen, because I know you're not available on the 19th, right? So our only other time, I believe, to have this meeting would be next Wednesday on the 12th, if we're gonna have this before town meeting day.
Yeah, I'm happy to, I appreciate having the opportunity to continue to engage with the community, and to go through expenditures. I want to thank those who came out to donuts and discussion, on Friday. It was wonderful to have the opportunity to just talk through some of the expenditures, and in public comment tonight too, just, hearing, some, folks sharing comments that, I'd love to be able to engage in discussion with. The 12th would be something I'd be more than happy to attend. We wouldn't need any kind of motion on this. The board has the ability to warn a special meeting at their whim. And so that's something that you all could, date setting is logistics. So you could determine that at this point in time in this agenda section.
Great, thank you, Violet. So I guess my question is, would we be thinking of not holding the meeting on the 19th and instead holding it on the 12th? So we warn for a meeting on the 12th.
My understanding was that we
weren't having the.
We weren't having, okay, so really it's
That's
just a.
what I
okay.
understood too.
I understood that was something
I-
we were talking about, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll confirm myself,
And
because-
so I was suggesting, I was gonna suggest, how about we use that time to do this? But then I learned that Violet wouldn't be able to be there on the 19th, so it's gonna have to be a different day, which I think the 12th
That's your only option.
pretty much is
Well,
right.
is there.
Or
Yeah.
it gets it.
Yeah.
I like the idea of it being on a Wednesday, board meetings are typically on Wednesdays. I'm happy to do that. Again, I would appreciate the opportunity. We've been doing, the road show here, working with, doing town meeting TV and giving the budget presentation at a number of places, and we'll continue that. But I find that the opportunity to have really that direct Q&A is incredibly important, especially for those in our school community who have specific questions.
So, and what we're looking for here is, for us to sort of collate a lot of the central questions that we've received. We prepare some sort of, information around that to make sure everybody's on the same page from the board's perspective and your perspective. We're also looking for community, engagement here to ask questions about those particular topics and to get some of their more specific questions answered. That's correct. Is that what I'm hearing?
Thanks.
Okay, great. Any other comment on that? So I think when we get to the agenda plan
Agenda
section,
planning.
we can
Throw that on.
level up, we can fix some,
Yeah.
the details of that.
Thank you, Tim.
Sure, before we move on, because we talked a lot about community engagement here, I do want to just open the floor quickly to see if anybody has in the community any thoughts on what they might like to hear in that meeting.
Or maybe we can invite people to send us, how about
Or
send us our questions? I think that would be a lot
because folks
easier.
here, so I didn't know if they might want to speak.
I mean, not that you can speak, but I'm just saying, like, I think that would be.
Could I share a bit about the communication that we're engaging in right now?
Sure, and then after that, you
That's fine. It was just a quick.
can, no, come on up first, and Violet, if we have a question in the room, I'll take that first, and then if you want to speak,
Sure.
that'd be great.
Yeah, sure.
Samantha Ayers. Just a clarifying question, you had mentioned a couple different things. One was answering the questions during that time next week, and then the other, it sounded like it was more of a discussion. So I was just curious, what was the decision? Was it going to be engaging in kind of a back and forth discussion, or is it just answering some of the questions?
I think the idea here, Samantha, would be to, for us to make sure we present some information first so that everybody is on the same page about what the perspectives are from the board and the administration. And then give you folks the opportunity to ask some additional questions or get clarification, right? Because I think there's a lot of potential, I'm not gonna call it misinformation, but there's a lot of different understandings about what's happening here. So I just want to make sure we're sort of on the same page at first, and then we can get additional clarification and questions from you folks as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I
Thank
mean,
you.
we
That's
want this to
helpful.
be your meeting, I think, is the idea here.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank
Sure.
you.
You're welcome, Samantha. I'm sorry, Violet, do you want to go ahead, Violet?
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I just wanted to, first of all, thank Tim Warren, who's come to a number of budget presentations with PTOs, staffs, community organizations, town meeting TV. It's been wonderful to have board support. This is, the board approved budget. So I want to thank you for that, and to all of our board members who are working to share information with our community about our budget. The tenor in the community and the state is something that can't be ignored. Many of our neighbors are introducing budgets with really significant cuts, ranging from total decimation of arts, and we're seeing negative homestead tax rate increases across many parts of our region. And so, it will very much take incredible community support to pass our near 8% homestead tax rate increase, which we know includes expenditures that our students really need. So I want to just provide a quick update. We do have information on our budget webpage. If you go to our sbschools.net and type in FY26 budget, you'll be able to find lots of materials that you can print and share. There are some folks who've reached out, parents, PTO members wanting to create flyers letters and have them printed. We did create a flyer, and that's also on our webpage. So if folks want to, print that off, pass it out, if we can assist you in any way, please reach out to Julia McGuire, jmcguire@sbschools.net. She is our communications coordinator, and she'd be happy to assist you with any kind of materials that you would like, should you wish to share anything. Again, thanks to all those who've already reached out. In addition to printables, there are materials that can be posted on social media and online. So again, please reach out should you want to see anything else or have any questions. We know that it is our school community who passes budgets, and that 80% of our the registered voters in South Burlington do not have a connection to our schools. So just putting that out there again. I also want to thank the members of our admin team, the full administrative team with all directors, principals, and assistant principals are meeting once and some weeks twice a week to discuss the budget. We know that because of the required mandatory 30-day revote, we've got to be prepared for anything that comes our way. Again, we, firmly believe that everything in this first budget is needed to support our students and our staff. Also, being planful is something that is important. So we're engaging in collaborative conversations there. In addition to continuing with the roadshow, please feel free to reach out if you've got any questions on finances. You can email me or Tim Jarvis. Happy to connect. Happy to meet or talk with parents and answer questions at any time. Appreciate all those who came out for donuts and discussion. And I'm going to shamelessly use this opportunity to put in a plug for our next Donuts in Discussion. And that one is going to be on March 7th from 1 to 2 p.m. at our central office. Would love to see you all there. And thanks so much to those who came last time. It was really wonderful to have conversation and to get into some of those budget expenditures. So thanks so much. And back to you, Tim.
I just want to warn the community, if you come, you may have to bring your own donut. So,
Oh, and coffee. I know.
You're right.
Tightening the belt. Thanks so much.
And before I leave this topic, I'm just looking and I don't see any hands raised online. So I guess we'll go ahead and move on. All right. So that brings us then to item C, Vermont School Board Association advocacy regarding Governor Scott's education reform proposal. Laura, do you want to introduce this topic, or would you like me to?
Dory, you can introduce it and then I'll chime in.
Okay, all right. So as everybody is aware, there is significant proposals being proffered by the Scott administration around not just changing the entire funding mechanism for schools, but also the governance model as well. So at this point in time, the Vermont School Board Association, of course, is paying very close attention to this. They are also distributing some synopsis of the meetings and committee meetings and hearings and testimony. And what they're looking for is feedback from boards, specifically to understand some of our concerns, what we're following, what we need to know as well, because it's going to be very important that as this moves forward, boards are attuned to what the changes are and what the prospective impacts will be, so that we can also communicate out to the community, because a lot of people may not be paying close attention, and through us may be one of the few opportunities they have to learn about this. So that said, Laura, I know you are a VSBA representative, so maybe you could clarify.
No, that was great. And I'm sorry, everybody just left, because we have a 3-hour meeting next Wednesday, 5 to 8. So I'll probably do that, start it here and kind of do both of the meetings. And if anybody does have suggestions about, I mean, this is a complete governance change to education in Vermont, and SBA really needs to hear from boards and board members how they need to know how to lobby the legislators. Like Tim and I both watched hours and hours of committee meeting video, read countless papers. That's what I've been spending my time doing. And really, there is no clear path forward as far as I can tell just yet. So this is all in the making. So if anybody has any questions, you can send them to me and I'll bring them to the executive director of the SBA. So yeah, so I'll be doing that. I'm going to be doing Devil Tooth next week. I guess Ray will be here and then I'll be doing my online meeting.
So are you asking for questions right now?
Yeah, or if you wanted to send them to me.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, one of my questions is why one of the school districts is twice the size as the other four?
So
That would be,
yeah,
that
so
would
like-
be one of my main
Chittenden
questions.
County, Lamoille, and what Addison, I think it is, it'd be
Mhm.
so it's about over 34,000 people. I think one of the reasons that happens, they couldn't figure out a way to divide it. There is talk now of, I know Armando Villaseca had suggested, he testified, he suggested do it by county, 14 counties. That didn't seem to get anywhere. There is now talk though of 12 regional districts as opposed to 5, but again, I think it changes on the hour.
Mhm.
And that is the question that everybody had. I mean, so would be 34,000 students in one district in the Chittenden County, Washington, the other place I mentioned, I can't remember. And then the other 4 would have between 10 to 12,000.
Right.
And so your superintendent should have 5. This would really be a very political position. There would be no contacting the superintendent. I mean,
Yeah.
it would be a very different model.
Like why you wouldn't just aim for
Well,
like an average of about 15,000, like cut up.
And they're really getting into the minutia now
Yeah.
too about what's the ideal, not like number total for a high school is, and then a middle school and then elementary school. And yeah, there are definitely a lot of questions. The school boards would be, this is very similar to Florida. My dad lived in Sarasota for 30 years. And so there, being on a school board is a big business. You get paid about $55,000 a year. You work 3 full days. So there will be paid school board members. And then like by region.
Mhm.
So this kind of interaction, I don't know what it does to that interaction, but I think that's the whole point. They're centralizing control at the state level
Mhm.
and not here. So.
The Vermont
Sure.
Superintendent's Association has had a lot of very similar questions. I put a bit of information in this about this in my last newsletter, and I'll do the same for tomorrow. Right now, the proposal, and I have to say shout out to Bridget Burkhart too. She's on the Ways and Means Committee, who's responsible for a lot of the ed funding formula changes. So she's a wonderful advocate for SB, and very knowledgeable on ed funding in general. But I was just sending her some of our preliminary information based on there was yesterday's House Ed Committee meeting. There was discussion on the funding formula. And so, we're looking at how this could impact our budgets at this point in time. Too early to tell, but I did want to just broadly say, as some place setting, the discussion is around Governor Scott's plan to have 5 districts statewide, each of which would have wards. Just over 50% of the entire population of students in Vermont is in our ward, and it reaches nearly to the Canadian border and then all the way through Addison County. So it's a really diverse area. I said to some folks the other day that, even for us to come up with a common calendar is a challenge because of the distinct differences in our region, and the cultural and the diverse needs of community members and students. So I have a lot of concerns about that. I would encourage the board to continue to keep in touch with our legislators around this, as I will. And I also have passed along a number of questions, everything from what's going to happen to districts undergoing significant facilities upgrades right now, those negotiating. What does this mean for town meeting day votes, budget timelines? with the state board structure that's outlined, is their timeline feasible, given that they'd be hiring superintendents and central office staffs in the fall, followed by, you know, those superintendents propping up central offices right away? So I think they're really looking into timelines at this point in time. Health insurance, I think, is a big piece of this. Teacher and staff pay is a big piece of this. If we look at the Champlain Valley region or you know, in general, so this our large district, we see you know, while South Burlington is the highest paying employer in the state, many of those who are in the same district that's been outlined have significantly different pay rates. So what would that look like? What would that, you know, the impact on the ed fund be? Those are some of the big questions that VSA is discussing at this point in time, and that Bridget and I have discussed preliminarily as well. So I wanted to provide that info. So I guess many of the same questions that that you all are discussing at VSBA.
It's the same thing, and the committee, they're just hearing public expert testimony now from people, you know, across the country about how to do this, so nothing's been answered.
Anybody else about? So I have thoughts, I have big feelings, but
Yeah, certainly.
So, and I've listened to a lot of the testimony, and I've read, there are some bills that have been proposed as well recently, and I've read through some of those. One is about the redistricting that's come through and talking about a max of 25 districts and stuff.
Yeah.
I think if we, so I have one comment that maybe you could share with the VSBA or whatnot, but I'm happy to as well. My concern, and I laud all of the objectives in this, right? You know, to, you know, get the costs under control, provide equitable educational opportunities. I think that has been really well explained and prepared on the slides that I've seen, and I don't disagree with any of that. I have some questions around the governance model. One of my main concerns is I feel like the new governance model around these smaller districts and a lot of the other changes, you know, you have to understand, we're totally wiping the slate clean. This would be like reset. It's just like reset, right? It's a zero and redo everything. So there's tremendous statute implications. But my real primary concern here is I see a significant concentration of power in the agency of education, which to me is a political organization at this point because it's directly appointed by the governor. And if you're going to consolidate power into 5 large districts with a few people who are paid, and how those people are appointed, right? Are they elected? What's going on here? Because one thing I see, if you're going to have 5 boards and you're going to have to get elected and it's paid, you're going to shut out a lot of people who would normally want to be on a board. Nobody is, you know, who are you then going to get to be on boards at that point, right? So you potentially are going to politicize the entire process. And I know right now it's very messy. It's expensive, it's messy, it feels like nothing gets done. But I question the loss of the local voice and the local control. We can say what we want about, we hear a lot about lack of transparency, and I don't feel like I'm being heard. But I think if you extrapolate that out and you go to this huge district approach, you know, be careful what you ask for. So in the name of efficiency, you're going to lose potentially a lot more that I think Vermonters hold dear and I hold dear. So to me, that is, and I've seen some of this, you know, there was some stuff in one of the bills about certainly the secretary would have say over certain things. And there was testimony by the Board of Education today, and they voiced a significant concern around that too, as far as what would they be doing, and a lot would get shifted to the agency and stuff. So
I mean, I think that is the goal.
Yeah, eventually, and that's kind of what I'm seeing here. And because, and I think the Board of Education, I can't remember her name, but she made a very good comment. If it moves that way, and we have a shift every 2 years in politics,
yes,
that significantly destabilizes the system. So that's my big concern with this, but hopefully I've listened to testimony and people are asking a lot better questions than I am. So I'm
they're asking really great questions. That's really good.
So, yeah, no. So, and I guess my other question to the board is how would we like to communicate a lot of this to the community, right? How do we want to share, or how do we feel like we may want to engage the community on this? Because I feel like, we should sort of be kind of not in the lead, but we should.
Well, I have given VSBA updates. And I don't know. But. That's what we've done in the past, but now we have this major, this like potentially life-changing, life-altering. Experience, so, I don't know, I say we can make it an agenda item or here's what I would say, Tim. We could have a forum, that would be warned. I think to Karen's point, if we don't warn it, don't take it seriously. And that I'm not criticizing, I mean, I totally get it. I mean, I get it, so, I think something more formal, I could not agree more.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, like, when I could do it.
So maybe we could organize, and if we're doing what we are with one board meeting, maybe there's, with the new board coming on, maybe we look at potentially doing another board meeting around this particular
Yeah,
topic.
that's what I would say, like, I mean, I don't think we can have too much communication. I mean,
No,
these are
no.
Huge topic, huge ideas that, that we have to get through, so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
I'm always a big fan of like lots of splintered committees, but would it make sense to create like
well, I'm already on the VSBA.
well, I mean, like
Like an advisory committee.
like an advice
Local to local level.
at the local level, so I mean, maybe they don't do anything yet, but like, wouldn't it be nice to kind of be prepared as this process rolls forward, like we have a structure in place of how we're gonna deal with this?
Well, yeah.
That's
We
a
don't
good
have to
idea.
decide that
I think
now,
that
but
would be
just
something to take a
Something
note
to
of.
think about.
something
For
to
the
think
new board
about.
coming up.
The issue is that we have no idea what we're dealing with just yet, but yeah.
Like to think about what would we
Yeah.
want at the local level as a structure
Yeah.
for us to be able to.
Yeah, and they're going to be local advice. I kind of don't understand, but it's sort of, you have these paid school boards members, let's say like 7 school board members for the 34,000 students. And then you'd have, it is laughable. And then you'd have these advisory groups, which made up of students and parents and I don't know who else. But this is it's a real skeleton outline.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that'll get picked apart by them. And that's what I'm hearing from the committees is they're looking for more detail on this, right? And I think that'll be.
So sounds good. So, all right, Tim, I've got that written down.
Okay. Any other discussion? Anybody in the room?
Discussion items. Oh, never mind, sorry.
Hey Jarvis, mom of twins in high school, North Burlington resident. I'm also, I hear what you're saying about sort of representation on the school boards, and it just seems to me if they were going to stick with the current delineation of 34,000 students in the Champlain Valley region and, between 10 and 18,000 in the others, that our region would be severely disenfranchised and disadvantaged by having that many students with only the same amount of representation on some kind of, centralized Champlain Valley school board. So, if the community is concerned now, feeling that they're, worried, like, am I being heard? Wait until we're, we have 34,000 students' interests being dealt with by 7 people. And, it's just, I just don't know how the needs of the students and the teachers in the community would be heard or represented in the current model. So, yeah, that's just my concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. All right, any other comment? And I don't see any hands raised online.
So we're going to agenda.
We do have one. Can you unmute Jerry?
I just wanted to update something I said which was incorrect earlier. With regard to Burlington's budget, they are decreasing the tax rate by 2%, and they're decreasing spending by 7%, as opposed to South Burlington, which is increasing spending by 5% and increasing its education tax rate by just under 8%. And that follows FY '25, where after 2 failed budgets, the district came back to the community with a net reduction of 6.8 FTEs. And of those 6.8 FTEs, 4 were unfilled positions. So in terms of actual personnel reduction, after 2 failed budgets, the district had reduced personnel by 0.56%. If you compare South Burlington to the other regional districts, we are not in any way trying to economically balance costs against education, and the other districts are. And it's for that reason that I hope the budget goes down, because you can't ignore economics, which the South Burlington School District has been doing year after year after year. And that's part of the reason we're in the situation we're in now. You just kicked the can down the road, and the road has come to an end, and now we must pay the piper for disregarding economic realities.
Thank you. Jerry, can I ask one question just for clarification? When you say increase in spending and you mentioned the 5%, are you talking per pupil or are you talking?
No, I believe the increase in spending was $3.4 million. So in FY '25, it was $68 million. And this year it's FY '26, it's about 71. So it's about a $5 million increase in spending, which turns out to be about a 5% increase in spending. But the tax rate, which drives what we pay on city tax bills, is up 8%. If you compare it to other regional districts, they won't come close to such a high education tax rate. And that's what drives city tax bills, is your education tax rate and the assessed value of your home.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, moving on. I think the next item is just the contract negotiations update. It's not on the agenda, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I added it on during the agenda discussion.
Sorry, Jenna.
We started.
I was all set to our agenda item.
Right. Sorry, just really quickly. So in the interest of keeping the community up to speed on contract negotiations, because I know there are a lot of questions that come our way around that. I am going to try to plan on providing an update as I can at each of the meetings. I can't share clearly anything that's in proposals or anything like that, but I just want to let the community know where we are at in the process. So currently we have initiated contract negotiations with both the teachers union and with the support staff union. So we've held our first meetings with each. And in those meetings, it's an exchange of ground rules and just kind of coming together on the ground rules. So those have been discussed. That's looking pretty favorable. We have not signed off on the ground rules yet. That will potentially happen at the next meeting. And we do have those next meetings scheduled. At that point, again, we would work to solidify the ground rules and then exchange actual proposals at that point. So that's sort of where we are at in the process, but I just want to keep everybody informed. And if anybody does have questions and they'd like to, they'd like more information on the negotiations, clearly, again, I can't go into specifics on any of the proposals at all, but I'm happy to provide an update on what the process is and where we are at it. So, and just ask if there are any questions from the board at all. Discussion. Any discussion from any comments from the room? Any questions online?
No.
Great, thank you. All right, that brings us to the end of discussion items. That moves us to item 7. We're way ahead on schedule. Do we need a break? I just want to ask that. Or do we want to just
Let's go.
plow right through? Okay.
Let's power through, Tim.
All right, item 7, agenda planning. So set the agenda for the March 5th meeting.
Can we do?
Go ahead.
The February, so we're still
So,
February 12th, right?
Yeah, the first item here actually is set the agenda for the March 5th meeting.
Okay,
But I think we need to decide on what we're doing on the 12th. So is it the board's consensus that we are going to not have a meeting on the 19th? We're going to have our meeting up, we're opening up a week on the 12th. And that it will, essentially, the agenda will be to review commonly asked questions about the budget and prepare feedback for that and then entertain questions. Is that what I'm hearing?
that's my understanding.
Okay,
I have a conflict on the 12th, but I heard you.
okay.
Continue.
And I have my 3-hour PSBA meeting, but I'm gonna be here doing it, and so I'll be back and forth.
And that I assume we would start at the regular scheduled time of 6 p.m., correct? Violet, is that sound good? Do you need, what do you need from, okay, what do you need from me on that? Do you need me to write that up and send that to you, or is that something that Chelsea typically does?
I am on top of it. I will make sure that we warn this and that we're good to go. And I'll look forward to it. I'll have what I'm going to do is share the slides that we've been going through with the expenditures, and I will provide rationale and information. And then really though, want this to not be presentation style and have this be conversational and have the chance to provide clarity, because I think that's where that this real kind of engagement style that we're looking for can be productive.
Yeah, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Karen, but what we're really probably looking for is there are some very specific items that keep coming up around the administrative role, around other, we've got these very common questions. And I'm not sure if, reiterating the numbers is as important as like, here's the question, here's the explanation for that, and hopefully, like Violet, at a level that we feel the community can interpret, right? Because if we throw a lot of, say, Fachsprache is the German word.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like domain speak, right? I think we want to try to avoid that so that everybody can kind of be with us.
I couldn't agree more. I think, in public board meetings, obviously these are business meetings held by the board, and we have that responsibility to share certain financials. I will be prepared to speak to financials on a few of the expenditures, right? Like the assistant special ed director, that's been really helpful when I've broken down that cost for folks. So, but other than that, I think this is really just an opportunity for me to connect with people and to dive deep into their comments. No gobbledygook, so you can look forward to not hearing that. Nothing fancy. I'm happy to forgo slides as well and just take questions.
Yeah, I think if we could just kind of avoid slides and just hear the questions and here's.
Unless it's like, here are the topics we're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to go through any changes on the slides. I can just have those teed up. But really, I want to focus on just connecting with folks and answering questions. No gobbledygook, no spreadsheets, and of course, if folks want those, we'll provide those as well. But looking forward to the conversation. I will reach out to Delina and make sure that we've warned that for 6 p.m. On the 12th.
Great, thank you, Violet.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, setting the agenda for the March 5th meeting. So this will be our first meeting with the new board. Violet, I assume that one of the items will be election of officers. I believe you start the meeting and we do election of officers.
That's right. So the first order of business we will have is board reorganization. So I will call the regular meeting to order. We'll continue with announcements and amendments to the agenda, comments from the public. I will welcome our new school board members, and then we'll have board reorganization. So election of a chairperson, election of the clerk. We'll designate a school board member to sign on behalf of contracts from the school board. We'll look at policy B1, which is board members' code of conflict of interest. B2, board members' code of conduct, board members' roles and responsibilities. I've also asked Joe McNeil to come, Joe McNeil District Council for several decades here, counsel to the board to come and to provide an in-person training to go into board members' roles and responsibilities with some level of detail. We'll review the board members' job descriptions. All of this will be an open session. The one item that we'll discuss are the VSBA's training videos, and looking at, we'll have some discussion around that. Those typically are not watched in open session. And then we'll have our focus on student learning. So it's just back further in the agenda because those first few items are really on board reorganization. Discussion items. So we'll talk about election and budget results. That'll be an important area of conversation. And we'll be discussing the regional school calendar. And then agenda planning, consent agenda, and possibly an executive session, depending on for labor negotiations, should that be required.
I think,
Yeah.
sorry, Tim, our retreat, I think that we should definitely,
Had the retreat to.
yeah,
Yeah,
get a
okay.
date, get a plan, particularly with new board members coming on. I cannot.
So can we add that, Violet? We'll discuss in discussion, we'll talk about the board retreat. Considering, whatever the outcome of the budget is, Violet, will we have space to talk about next steps if the budget does go down? And what that will look like? Because I think I'm sure we'll probably have community engagement, on that day. And I just want to make sure that we've got that carved out.
Yeah, I think the board should be prepared to provide guidance to me to move forward. Because given that we have a 30-day turnaround time, I won't be bringing a new budget to the community on the 5th because I will need feedback and direction. We will likely have to add a board meeting though. I'm going to share timeline information with the board, looking at our calendar here for March. We've got that meeting on the 5th, so the day after town meeting day. So I will need significant feedback to bring forward a new budget that I will share on the 12th. Again, we'll need feedback on that. And then we've got a meeting on the 19th as well. We do have the requirement for the 30-day revote, which would mean that the latest possible date that we could do that would be Thursday, April 3rd. So I just want to make sure, and community engagement is critically important on these budgets. So I want the board to be, prepared for that, that quick turnaround time on the revote date. And
When
again,
would we have-
principals
when would we have
and
the
I are
budget by?
meeting now. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. When would we have to warn the budget by?
Let me pull up that information for you and I can share that.
And while we're talking, as she mentioned, the board providing guidance, would it be helpful if Chelsea or I prepared like a description of that? Because we're gonna have new board members. And I feel like we may want to provide some background for them before they come on to the first meeting.
I think so. And honestly, if we're gonna be discussing. I hope the budget passes. So.
We all do.
This is a lot of. Anyway, if it doesn't though, I really think that should be our sole focus. Like that has got, like, we have to go back, warn another meeting for listening, I don't think. I really think this is the forum because having tried to do committees myself and tried to do listening sessions like over it just, I don't know, something about this Wednesday night. It's formal setting and everybody here, I think. And we should just plan on that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just shot a timeline to the board, but I am going to pull up the dates here and just share with the community here. So March 18th would be when we would need to warn for a special budget meeting, which is tricky because that only leaves the 5th and the 12th. So we will probably need to discuss adding a special meeting for additional communication. I wouldn't be comfortable bringing forward a new budget on the 5th without engagement or direction from the board, especially since we'll have a new board. And then the 12th is the only regular meeting. Again, we've got a meeting on the 19th, but we'd have to warn for the special meeting by March 18th. And then, you know, we have to give RIF notifications no later than March 15th to the SBEA, the teachers union.
Okay, any other thoughts on the March 5th meeting? Sounds good, okay. All right, item B, future agenda items, parking lot. Anybody else have any items they want to see on an upcoming agenda?
I'm just curious what our role is in terms of this Honors American question that's rolling around. I mean, I know that we're not, you know, we kind of don't intervene in specific decisions like this, but is it appropriate for us to advise the superintendent to?
That's operations, so that's.
I mean, when people bring the comments to us, like, what are we supposed to do with them? I guess is what my question is.
That's where we write them down and we bring them to the super, because that's really, and maybe Violet can speak to that next meeting, because that's operations.
Right.
So that is not our purview, but we certainly can listen. So I did read the FAQ. Yeah.
So, and Violet, step in here if you think I'm misspeaking. I believe that it would, clearly it's an operations decision. We're not going to, you know, say bring them back or whatnot, you know, it's not our role. What I feel the board could do is we could ask for potentially for clarification so the community is aware of why that decision was made. It certainly would, I think, would be within our purview to get an understanding of maybe the why for it. So there is that understanding.
That's what I'm hoping like next week can be that. Because I have.
But it's not a budget. And we should not mention it next week because it doesn't have anything to do with.
Well, no, somebody will mention it.
No.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it doesn't fall under the budget that we presented. I know that's sort of been floating around the school that it's part of the budget cuts. Because somebody, a staff member told somebody near and dear to my heart that it was a budget problem. And so I think, you know, that in and of itself, like, that doesn't have anything to do with the budget. I don't think it should come up next week if we're framing this as changes that have to do with the budget. Because I think that would be incredibly misleading. But I am curious about, you know, if people are, I don't know, not finding satisfaction by going to staff and they feel like they have to come here to say something, then what is our role in relation to those comments?
I would say that's a question for the principal. I mean, I think you have to know, like, have you spoken to the principal? Have you spoken to the teachers? Have you spoken to the head of school counseling? So, yeah, I mean, I think our role is to say, have you, like, you know, please direct this, you know, to the principal.
And this is where Chelsea, honestly, who understands policy governance better than I, would probably have a better answer. And
I'm happy
Violet,
to jump in here. Yeah. So I appreciate hearing the feedback. You know, we're one of the largest school districts in the state. Empowering our principals and directors is something that's critically important. You know, listening to so much of what we discuss and what's included in the budget and programmatic changes from pre-K to this discussion are brought forward by teams of folks. So I think it's you know, there wouldn't be enough time in the day for the superintendent, right, to be in every single one of these meetings. And I have to deeply believe in empowering the experts within our district. I think that's the strength of a leader, is someone who relies on their teams to bring forward information, and our principals are very much the experts of their schools. John Craig, acting principal, will be sharing some communication with the community in his regular newsletter on Monday. The FAQ doc is awesome. I'd encourage folks to check it out. Again, if you've got questions that are unanswered, please do utilize that category to go ahead and have that added and asked. John Craig did, you know, really reiterate that they're willing to talk with people and meet with people in addition to just the FAQ. So I'd encourage folks to either call John Craig, Megan Sweet, Ryan Navin, who's the CAS of the Social Studies Department, Mary Ellen Schaefer, who's also CAS of English and an AP. They're happy to engage with folks to make sure that there's information that's answered. You know, given the policy governance structure, one of the important protections, I think, is for policies, and one of those is curriculum. So we've got our curriculum monitoring report. Given discussions nationally right now about curriculum and what will be changed or not changed, I think our policy governance model is a really important safeguard for our students and for our community. It says that boards, no matter who is on them or who is elected, do not have the authority to single-handedly change curriculum. I would be very apprehensive to engage in a public board meeting conversation around curriculum. You'll notice that John Craig was in the room this evening, as well as others who are a part of developing this plan and bringing it forward. I would not suggest we engage in a public conversation about curriculum. If we open it up for this, then we're opening it up to have a broad variety of discussions. Again, looking at the federal discussions about curriculum, our board has chosen the model it has to ensure that you know, it isn't boards who are making these decisions, but the educational experts. I do very much trust in our high school teachers and the two departments of the CAS and the administration and Megan Sweet, who brought this forward. So please do reach out to them. I think if there's further engagement needed, that would be something that I would ask the high school team to host at the high school specifically, rather than in a board meeting setting. Already had preliminary discussions with John Craig about that. You know, similar to what we did when we were having school safety issues, folks had concerns about some of the schools, and principals hosted individual forums there. I think, you know, one subject the board has grappled with pretty significantly this evening and in past meetings is having to you know, run the business meeting and yet field a lot of comments about operational things. And I think the best venue for that is really for schools to host those individually, so each school community can get those questions answered. So that would be my advice on this, and that's the plan that I've discussed with administration so far. Of course, reach out to me anytime if you've got questions on that.
On that FAQ, there's a link to the Google form, if you have any questions, so you should definitely do that. I mean, students can do it too, I think, so. Yeah,
So I
so
guess
that way
Karen-
we take it off, and we shouldn't,
Right.
that is very strictly
I-
operations.
Right, and I think that, I guess the reason I was asking that question is because I think it's important to explicitly say that, because we just had a whole bunch of people come to the board saying these things about that are, you know, very well written comments and so on and so forth. And I think, you know, speaking to this question of, are we responsive? I think it's really important for us to be clear that, you know, yes, your comments are being heard by the superintendent, but the board is, you know, is not going to formulate a response or make a comment, you know, like I think that that's important to have be explicit in communications with the public.
And I absolutely agree. And I think what we just heard Violet say is that she's heard the feedback and she's set up some communication, which is what we would expect as the board, right?
Right.
You're absolutely right. We're not gonna go in and say we want it brought back or anything like that. But I think this is
But
absolutely,
I do think it's appropriate for us to say, gee, superintendent, this is clearly something that the public feels very strongly about. What are your plans for gathering information?
yeah,
Which is what we just did.
Which is what we just did.
right.
It's,
right. And we
it's
say
just
that at the start
important
of our
to,
meetings.
We do say that, that is stated.
That's stated at the beginning of
You
public
stated
comment,
it
and
many
that's exactly,
times.
yeah, and I think you're absolutely right, Karen.
Yeah.
I think if it comes up next in the meeting on the 12th, I think it's a matter of, here's what is happening now with this, right?
Mhm.
It's going into like potentially, you know, the principal will have a session on it or something like that.
right.
So
And
the community
this is
knows
where to
we've heard.
direct these comments.
Exactly,
Um,
absolutely.
and we have heard that it's an important topic. And
Yeah.
we are happy to see that the superintendent and the principals are going to handle it as an important topic. So, yeah.
And it does sort of, because and I think maybe I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
I'm gonna
think we-
paint
I think we
myself
should-
right into
yeah,
a corner,
I think
so
we
it's,
should- we all
we're good.
understand.
It's-
Yep.
I
that's
get-
just-
I get it.
My point is just, I think it's really important to explicitly say that, say that.
And Chelsea has explicitly said that
Yes.
many, many times, so, and perhaps it's never too much.
I just wanna warn people, I tend to think out loud and that's
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
good
no, I
thing.
agree.
So I'm just pulling back and I'm done.
Yes.
Okay, any other agenda planning comments?
I
We'll
have
move on. Oh,
I
yes.
have one more, this is not agenda item planning, but it is a current item, so looking at our timeline. I am realizing that this will be our last board meeting with Chris Trombley, as he's not able to meet the 12th, of course. Can't blame him, we just scheduled that, but I really want to thank Chris for stepping in when a time when, you know, the board was really looking for people like Chris, who have experience on boards, his financial experience. He jumped right into finance committee and negotiations and really values community engagement, has deep connections with the city and has strengthened those relationships, an advocate for our students across the board from in the schools to fair housing. I just really want to appreciate you taking time from, you know, your life and your family and your kids, who we also support in our schools, to support all of our children. So thank you so much. And you're not off the hook too, because we're going to ping you for committee work and such. But I really want to thank you for all of your work and your time. Karen, I don't have to make this, I don't have to say this till next time for you. So, because I know you'll be there on the 12th, but Chris, I really want to thank you. It's been much appreciated. And again, you step up at a time when, you know, the board really needed solid leadership. So just wanted to express gratitude to you publicly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Feel like I'm leaving with work to be done, just thinking about the work plan, and there's respect for the school board and the work that you're doing for on behalf of the district. It's not thankless. There is a lot of community support for folks, but but a lot of folks, I think we were just talking about like policy governance and how does this all work? It does take some time to get ramped up, and I don't know, I just have a large appreciation for what each of you do and what that means, putting in your time. I love hearing the student reports, and I love hearing the diverse feedback. Two issues I'm going to continue to kind of track afterwards is all resident voting, and also there's some feedback on some immigration policy that's become particularly important in Vermont. Make sure our students are and staff, parents are protected.
Thank you.
Thank you,
This
Chris.
is great.
Violet, thank you for pointing that out. That would have been,
Yeah, that was a good call, Violet.
yes, thank you. All right, consent agenda. So on the consent agenda, we have approval of minutes for January 22nd. Is there any discussion on the minutes? I do have one. So, Violet, in the minutes, and I don't have a page number here, I apologize, I can send it in an email. There is a statement that says, it's about halfway through. She said the superintendent evaluation model, period. So I'm not sure if something got left off there, but it seemed to be like an abrupt ending, so I just want to make sure that that sentence either gets struck or is clarified.
Thank you so much for catching that. Julia McGuire, who takes our minutes, is on the call now. So that is registered. Julia, can you just confirm that you've heard that?
Yep.
All right, thank you so much.
Right, any discussion? Right, hearing none, actually, we won't approve those minutes, we'll pull that back because there has to be an edit. Okay. And by the way, Julie, I just want to say I really appreciate your minutes here. They're very, very thorough and very, very well, easy to read, so. Next, resignation. So resignation of Elizabeth Stockbridge, 1.0 FTE, 6th grade mathematics teacher at the middle school. So Violet, at this point, we ask for discussion and just, it's just part of the consent agenda. Right? Any discussion? And then approval of AP orders, 1225, 1273, 1288, 1289, 1301, 1303, 1314, 1315, 1316, 1317, 1318, 1319, 1320, and 1323. Any discussion? Right,
Was there a discount on AP orders that,
Yeah, I know.
All right, hearing none, the AP orders are approved. All right, that brings us to adjournment. Anybody like to make a motion for adjournment?
Do the honors.
motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion to adjourn, Chris, motion to adjourn, Laura seconds. All in favor, aye, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. With that, the meeting of South Burlington School Board for February 5th, 2025 is closed. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Your last official.
Yeah, thanks.